Leaderonomics show, and today we have with us Ron Kaufman, a guru on service culture and in fact a great motivator. Ron, welcome to the show.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
What brings you to Malaysia, and could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into this whole space of helping organizations improve their service?
Well, I've always been passionate about helping people improve who they are. Okay. And then 21 years ago, I came to Singapore to help the entire country there raise the service quality standards throughout the nation. It was a huge project. I've been based now in Asia Pacific for the past 21 years. Travel all over the world.
So what do you do, I mean, in terms of helping organizations and countries with service
Fundamentally,
quality?
there's two things that I do. One is help individuals and organizations improve service performance. Essentially create more value for someone else by providing them a better service experience. The second is helping large organizations build a sustainable service culture, which gives them a sustainable advantage over time.
Right, and how do you do that?
Right, well, part of it is teaching everybody in the organization the fundamental terms and tools and practices to be able to improve the service performance that they're providing to external customers as well as to internal colleagues, right? Service in our definition is taking action to create value for someone else. So you see it can apply very widely, okay? The second is helping an organization build a culture that continuously reinforces, promotes, educates, and encourages that service improvement.
And you did it for Singapore as a country, right?
I was one of the members of a core team of people who came in and really worked on upgrading the service experience for people who live in the country and people who visit the country.
So how's that gone, and you know, what are some of the insights you've got from that experience?
It's an amazing experience because we've worked with every different possible kind of organization that you can imagine, from police and immigration and customs, which are regulatory and authoritative, right, to very, very different B2C situations where it's pure hospitality, retail, food and beverage, where you would expect to find service. But what's been very interesting is to find how much this service improvement paradigm and this culture building initiative has taken root in areas that you wouldn't normally think. IT solutions, engineering, manufacturing, supply chain, areas where by adding a service component, it can very much cause one organization to stand out or one nation to stand out from others.
Do you see differences, I mean, in terms of Asian businesses or countries in Asia versus some of their Western counterparts with regards to service?
I think every culture, whether it's a national culture, it's a community culture, it's an organizational culture, has certain built-in strengths, certain style. So if you look in the West, let's take the United States as an example, very innovative. That's what Disney is from there, Hollywood is from there, Intel is based there, right? You have always fresh new ideas. But you come to some other areas of the world and you'll find a natural kindness, a natural politeness. For example, in Asia Pacific, you could look at Thailand, right? But then there are other places where it's about efficiency. Get the job done. Very precise, for example.
So in terms of the actual organizations, the differences, so there's some cultural differences, but in terms of service, in terms of customer, in terms of the whole customer experience, is there a fundamental difference, or do the West?
No, there are enormous differences, but now rather than talking about the culture of the organization that's providing the service, let's look at what the expectations and the preferences are of the customer base. And from that standpoint, the customer base is becoming so global, so cosmopolitan, it's communicating transnationally so quickly that companies and individuals within organizations need to become better and better at discerning what is it that a customer will value. What is it that we're already doing that they value? What should we stop doing that they're not valuing because that's waste? And what could we do differently or do newly that we haven't done before that will cause that customer or client or partner or distributor or internal colleague to say, wow, that just made me more successful. That made me more effective. That added value to me. That is better service.
Okay. So it's becoming a very global world, huh?
Oh, it is a very global world.
So, you talked a little bit about service culture, embedding it. How do you really do that? I mean, and does it take time, and does it, I mean, it must be something that's an enormous task to do, right?
Well, you don't build a culture by snapping your fingers or just by writing a check. Okay. So to build a culture, we have an architecture and a roadmap that we help organizations understand and implement in their organization. The architecture has a foundation of education. This is not just customer service training. Right? There's a fundamental education of core principles and practices that throughout the organization, top to bottom, internal and external, people need to know. So it becomes a common service language. From the top, there's something that leadership must do. Not just talking, but the walking the talk, right? Actually providing the support over time for the things that the organization needs. And then there are many different culture building activities. We call them building blocks. Recruiting the right people, orienting them properly, having the right kind of rewards and recognition in place. How are you doing your benchmarking? How do you capture voice of the customer? What's your recovery policy? There are 12 areas, and we talk about them all on our website there for free. People who want to learn about it can go to upyourservice.com and find more. That's an architecture for engineering a culture over time. Now, when you talk about doing it over time, you need a roadmap. You don't try to do everything all at once, right? So where's the low-hanging fruit? What are the activities that an organization should do first to be able to get some traction and get some wins, and then continue that over time so it becomes the culture of the organization to continuously improve their service?
So how long does it take, I mean, in general, like somebody to get to like a Disney or, you know, with that?
Okay, now, a Disney is a historical phenomenon, right, that's been built up. But what we have seen with the organizations we work with is you get change within 6 months. Within 12 months, everybody gets what's going on. Certainly in the second year, it becomes the way of working. Right?
So about 2 to 3 years in general, you sort of have at least
and we have some great track records with companies who've really repositioned themselves in their industry, who've clawed back market share, who have completely changed customer satisfaction ratings, and some of the ones you wouldn't expect, Microsoft.
True. So, you know, you talked a little bit about leadership just now.
Yes.
And you talked about the importance of leadership. You know, what in your take, what's leadership? And, you know, in terms of building this culture, in terms of, you know, what's your definition of all that?
Well, it's not so much what's the definition of leadership as what are the fundamental actions that a leader must take, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so there are certain things, as I said, you've got to walk the talk. Your personal role modeling and behavior has to demonstrate the kind of service orientation, facilitating other people to create value, right? That's a fundamental job of a leader. Then there are other things, like there are certain things within most organizations that are actually sending the wrong signal. Okay, do you have the guts to get rid of them? Will you cut away something that just sits there and festers in a way, yeah, we've always done it that way, or there's a reason why it's like that, but to everybody else in the culture, it's sending the wrong signal. That's a leadership responsibility to go in and terminate that and put something else in its place. And the other is to continue to provide the support that's needed as new cultural initiative comes along to support that roadmap in being effective.
You know, that's great insight. I mean, you've written a lot of books, right? Up Your Service and a number of other books, and the latest book you're writing is Uplifting Service, right?
That's right. I'm working on a new book called Uplifting Service. It's the proven path to delighting your customers, colleagues, and everyone else you know.
So what's that book about, and what's some of the insights from that book?
Well, the proven path is that there really is a fundamental set of principles and practices that anyone can use in any service situation, which I think is just about every situation in life, right? To create a better experience for somebody else. And so that's what it is that I'm laying out now with examples of things that we've done with organizations all over the world in a wide range of industries and government organizations.
What's kind of the takeaway of the, I mean, I know that's the book about, but is there any secrets in there that you know, we have to buy the book, right?
If there's a fundamental secret, and it's sort of a concluding key point as well, is to really say, how are you going to be in life? Are you going to be somebody who's going to get all you can and always be asking, you know, what's in it for me and how do I get advantage out of this situation? Or do you take a fundamental repositioning and say, what is it that I can do that enable someone else? How can I create more value for that other person? What is it that would advantage or cause someone else to be more successful? Knowing that in being a person or an organization that has a reputation for doing that, what you want is going to come right back to you, right? But that's a fundamental decision that people and organizations need to make.
You know, a thought just came to me. Organizations, you know, it's so important, the whole customer, you know, working with the customer, ensuring superior service. But yet, not many organizations truly invest in this. Why is that?
So many of our procedures, our practices, and our metrics are internally focused. That's right. Inventory turns, profit margins, numbers of new customers, service level, you know, they're very internally focused, right? The customer's experience is not your service level agreement. Their experience is on their side, right? And we hardly even have a language to be able to understand and talk consistently about what somebody else perceives as the value or the experience they're having with us. Well, that's the first thing that I teach in the new book, right? It's called the 6 Levels of Service, which is really seeing the service experience from the customer's point. That's right. That's right.
You know, just want to ask you a couple of quick questions of advice. You know, if I'm a college grad, I just graduated from university, and I'm coming out into this big world that's global, what advice would you give me?
Well, the first piece of advice is make the decision early in your career to take that fundamental stand of I'm going to be somebody who's giving, and I'll trust that the getting will come. rather than my mission in life is to get as much as I can. I think we saw the whole global financial impact and the debacle that happened there from people just being focused on getting for me. There's a consequence to that.
I mean, that's fundamentally the whole service orientation, right?
Service
is to
orientation
give rather than get, right?
Right, which is very interesting because humans are born needing service for a longer period of time than any other species on the planet, right? We call it customer service, we call it internal service, we call it government service, foreign service, educational service, we even call it military service, and when you go to a religious thing, oh, it's called a service. So service is all around us, but it's not taught in schools. So if you're a grad, the first thing I would say is make it your business to learn that, and then go find an organization where you can work that believes in it, so that as you grow, it'll grow.
So now, if I'm a CEO of a company or a business leader in an organization, what advice would you give me?
Then to that organization, I would say that the most powerful, sustainable advantage that you could build would be a service culture throughout the organization. Not only external customer, but internal. Because that way the silos melt away, the collaboration and the teamwork automatically rises because you have everybody saying, what can I do to make you more, how can I add more value to you? That ends up becoming a sustainable advantage. It becomes one of those virtuous cycles, right? So no matter what happens with the competition or with the customer base or with the technology platform, you've got a team of people who are looking to enable and facilitate the success of each other and the customers. That's a winning culture, right?
Fantastic. Final motivating question. I mean, since you're a motivator, what nuggets of wisdom can you give our audience?
I think that in addition to that fundamental choice about being a giver rather than a get, right, is another fundamental choice about how you see what happens to you in life. Because nobody can predict what's going to happen in life. And life always seems to, in America, we'd say, throw you a curveball, right? It's what happens when you were planning something else that's going to happen, right? And you either say, poor me. You either say, I didn't deserve that. You either have an excuse as to why it happened, or you take responsibility and say, whatever it is that occurs in life, I'm going to take the stand of being personally responsible, because from that stand, I can choose and design to take action.
Well, Ron, thanks a lot for being here on the show. We have Ron Kaufman here on the Leaderonomics show.
Pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Pleasure.